Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. That single line, bold white letters over a black and white close up of Colin Kaepernick's face, became one of the most recognized advertising slogans of the past decade. When Nike released it in September of 2018, the internet exploded. People burned their Nike shoes, others flooded social media with support. The ad trended worldwide within hours. But here's the question we want to ask today: what was Nike actually saying, and who were they saying it to? Whether you have strong feelings about Nike or never think about them at all, this matters to you. We live in a media driven environment where corporations have learned that aligning themselves with social movements is good for business. Every time you scroll on Instagram, watch a YouTube ad, or sit through a commercial, you are being sold not just a product, but a worldview. And most of the time, we absorb those messages without questioning them. Because the difference between genuine activism and well packaged brand strategy is not always obvious, and the gap matters deeply for how real social change happens. As students in this course, we have spent the last several weeks studying ideological criticism and rhetorical analysis. We applied those tools directly to Nike's 2018 Dream Crazy ad, examining not just what it shows, but how it uses music, narration, visuals, and storytelling to promote a particular set of ideas about activism and social change. Whereas Nike's Dream Crazy advertisement reinforces the hegemonic ideology of social change can be achieved through individual ambition, personal sacrifice, and consumer identity, while centering celebrity standpoints, our imagined artifact counters this message by advancing the resistant ideology that meaningful change comes through collective action, community accountability, and ordinary people working together. First, I will analyze Nike's Dream Crazy advertisement, describing what it is, providing context, and explaining the ideological work that it performs. Then, MJ will present our imagined alternative artifact and show how it challenges Nike's message by centering it to a community based activism. To understand how Nike's campaign shapes the way audiences think about activism, let me take you inside the advertisement myself. The artifact we are analyzing is Nike's Dream Crazy advertisement released on September 5th of 2018. The 2-minute commercial is narrated entirely by Colin Kaepernick and features a montage of athletes, some famous, some not, overcoming physical and social barriers. We see a wrestler with one leg, a young girl boxing, LeBron James, Serena Williams. Throughout it all, Kaepernick delivers increasingly bold commands: dream bigger, push farther, believe in something crazy, even if it costs you everything. The ad closes with his face on the screen, the Nike swoosh, and the tagline, "Just do it." To understand this advertisement and why it hit so hard, you have to understand the moment it entered. In 2016, Colin Kaepernick began kneeling during the national anthem to protest racial injustice and police brutality. By 2017, he had effectively been pushed off the NFL, with no team wanting to sign him despite his abilities as a quarterback. By 2018, the kneeling debate was playing across news networks, the White House, kitchen tables. Kaepernick had become a symbol for some resistance and disrespect to others. Nike chose this moment, the 30th anniversary of Just Do It, to make him face. Nike chose this moment, the 30th anniversary of the Just Do It slogan, to make him face. To make him the face. Nike chose this moment, the 30th anniversary of Just Do It, to make him the face of its campaign. The timing was not accidental, it was calculated, and it was a brand decision. According to Nike and their official campaign that released in 2018, the advertisement was not designed to celebrate athletes who pursue their beliefs despite personal sacrifice, a value driven choice according to the brand. But communication scholars Robert Goldman and Stephen Papson, in their book Nike Culture, The Sign of the Swoosh, offer a more critical lens. They say Nike has a long time used advertising of contract to an ideology of personal empowerment, effectively turning athletic identity and even political identity into a commodity. So, what ideology is Dream Crazy actually promoting? We argue that it advances individualistic activism. The idea is that social change is the product of personal courage and personal greatness, not systems, not communities, just you, an individual, deciding to believe hard enough. Nike achieves this through several rhetorical choices. First, they use the emotional narration of Colin Kaepernick, where he speaks directly towards you, saying, "Don't ask if your dreams are crazy, ask if they're crazy enough." The second person viewpoint of this addresses and creates intimacy and makes you feel like you, the viewer, are the hero of the story. It also uses cinematic visuals, slow close ups, dramatic lighting, swelling music, the visual language of inspiration. These choices signal what you are watching is meaningful. They also use selective representation. The ad feels inclusive with women, athletes with disabilities, people of color, but nearly every person shown is pursuing individual athletic greatness. The framework stays meritocratic. Work hard enough, sacrifice enough, and you can overcome. They also use the logo and slogan placement. It all closes on the swoosh and the slogan, "Just do it," linking every ounce of emotional weight to the brand. Buying Nike becomes implicitly an act of solidarity. Media critic Naomi Klein, in her book No Logo, Taking Aim at the Brand Bullies, argues that this is precisely how corporations like Nike operate, attaching themselves to social causes to generate emotional loyalty and avoiding accountability for poor labor practices or structural changes. The cause becomes the content. The content sells the brand. Nike clearly benefited from this ad. Its stock rose after the initial drop, and the campaign won the Emmy Award for Outstanding Commercial. Kaepernick's platform grew and his message reached millions, but there were real costs. Grassroots organizations have no visibility. Nike's supply chain, long criticized for their overseas harsh labor conditions, goes unaddressed. And audiences are taught that supporting justice is something that you express through consumer choices, not community organizing or structural advocacy. Now that we have seen how Nike frames activism as individual and consumer driven, MJ will show you a different possibility. What an advertisement rooted in collective action might look like instead.
Our imagined artifact is a short form digital campaign titled Build Change Together. Rather than featuring celebrity athletes under a corporate banner, this campaign centers ordinary people engaged in everyday acts of collective action, organizing food drives, attending community meetings, mentoring youth, participating in peaceful protests, registering neighbors to vote, and showing up for one another in small and large ways. The campaign would be approximately 90 seconds long, designed for platforms like Instagram Reels, TikTok, and YouTube. This campaign would be produced by a collection of nonprofit organizations and community based activist groups, not a corporation. Funding would come from foundation grants and community donors, not advertising budgets. The release would be timed to coincide with a moment of civic importance, a local election, a nation, a, na- a nat. The release would be timed to coincide with a moment of civic importance, a local election, oh my god, a local election, a national awareness month, or in response to a specific community need. The primary audience is young adults between 18 and 30, a generation that research consistently shows is deeply skeptical of performative corporate activism, what some call woke washing. but is also deeply motivated to participate when given real, accessible pathways to do so. This campaign would be released in today's media environment, where audiences are increasingly sophisticated about recognizing what a brand where audiences are increasingly sophisticated about recognizing when a brand is performing values rather than practicing them. Where Nike's ad says dream crazy and sacrifice individually, our imagined artifact says change is built together. The resistant ideology we're advancing is collective activism, the belief that lasting social transformation does not come from individual heroism or consumer choices, but from the people organizing, showing up, and sustaining community across time. Here is how the rhetorical choices would reflect that ideology. With multiple ordinary voices instead of a single celebrity narrator, rather than Kaepernick speaking for everyone, Build Change Together would weave together brief statements from teachers, food bank volunteers, youth organizers, and first-time voters. People whose names you don't know, whose faces you might recognize from your own neighborhood. This communicates that activism is not a gift of the exceptional, it belongs to everyone. So what ideology is this advertisement actually promoting? This is me, right? Yeah. No, fuck.
That's me.
Okay, I go here. Okay. It belongs to everyone. Realistic, unpolished visuals instead of cinematic montage. Where Nike uses slow motion perfection, our campaign would lean into realness. A folding table at a community meeting, a hand painted sign, a crowded parking lot at a voter registration drive. These images say, this is what change actually looks like. It is not glamorous, it's not a commercial, it is you and your neighbors putting in the work. Resources instead of a logo. Rather than closing with a swoosh and a slogan, Build Change Together would close with a QR code linking to volunteer opportunities, local organizations, and a simple pledge to take one action in your community. The call to action is not buy something, it is do something. Who benefits from this kind of campaign? First and most directly, local community organizations would benefit through increased visibility, volunteer recruitment, and public awareness. Second, audiences benefit by being treated as agents rather than consumers, as people capable of meaningful action, not just meaningful purchases. This campaign would also challenge the broader cultural assumption that corporations are the appropriate vehicles for social change messaging. By demonstrating that compelling, emotionally resonant activist media can exist outside of a branding framework, Build Change Together implicitly asks audience to hold a higher standard for the activism they choose to support. The trade-off is reach. Nike has a global advertising budget. A nonprofit collection does not. But what the campaign lacks in scale, it gains in credibility, authenticity, and alignment between message and messenger. Placing these two artifacts side by side makes something visible that is easy to miss when you are watching either one alone. The way rhetoric shapes not just what we feel, but what we think is possible. We begin with a slogan: believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. We have spent this speech asking what it actually means when a corporation says that. Who benefits? What ideology it reinforces and what gets left out. Nike's Dream Crazy advertisement is powerful, emotionally resonant, and genuinely inspiring to many people. But beneath its surface, it advances the idea that activism is an individual act of personal greatness, and that supporting justice is something you express through the brand you choose to wear. Our imagined campaign, Build Change Together, offers a different answer, one rooted in collective responsibility, community participation, and the idea that real change is not built by one extraordinary person, but by ordinary people working together over time. Whereas Nike's advertisement reinforces the hegemonic ideology that justice can be achieved through individual ambition and brand identity, our imagined artifact advances the resistant ideology that meaningful change is built collectively through civic engagement, community organizing, and shared action that asks something of all of us. The next time a corporation tells you to believe in something, it is worth pausing for just a moment. Ask yourself, What exactly are they asking you to do? What are they asking you to buy? And who stands to benefit from turning your belief into their brand? Because the most powerful acts of social change in history were not the result of a well timed ad campaign, they were the result of people, ordinary, unglamorous, unremarkable people, deciding to show up for each other again and again until something finally changed. That's not a slogan, that's how community actually works.